Welcome to episode 1 of Paralegal's Memo, the podcast where we translate global IP, arbitrations, and legal trends into clear, actionable insights for today's legal professional. If you work with Latin American clients, this show helps you understand the skills and strategies that keep cross-border matters running smoothly. Hello, I'm Winfield Trivette II, a bilingual paralegal trained at Boston University and a Spanish and Portuguese to English translator with over a decade of experience living and working in Latin America. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to the print version of Paralegal's Memo on LinkedIn at bit.ly/paralegal101. I respect your time. I know it's precious, so let's go ahead and get started. Globalization expands disputes, transactions, and compliance obligations across Latin America. Contracts drafted in Spanish or Portuguese often shift into English for enforcement. Risk multiplies in that transition, and firms need bilingual paralegals like me who blend language mastery with legal literacy, cultural fluency, and digital agility. Bilingual paralegals who have lived in Latin America and are familiar with the people, the culture, and the languages are perfect to work with a supervising attorney to manage intellectual property portfolios for clients in the region. So let's take a look at these 8 skills that come to mind in that endeavor. Skill number 1, multilingual precision. Preserving enforceability across languages by validating sources and embedding jurisdiction-specific nuance. Again, the 2 main languages that are spoken in Latin America are Spanish and Portuguese. That is, the lone country, Brazil. Of note, Guarani and Quechua are 2 indigenous languages also. Guarani is centered in Paraguay and the southern cone interior, and Quechua stretches from the Andean highlands from Colombia to northern Argentina. Of course, language proficiency for an international bilingual paralegal is not the only skill that matters. Skill number 2, legal research mastery. One must be able to track fast-shifting statutes and compliance calendars with structured, cross-checked research. Good research skills, and even better research skills in Spanish and Portuguese, are prime for success in the region. Skill number 3, litigation support discipline. Organizing exhibits, deadlines, and filings so tribunals trust the record. Not unlike those familiar with U.S. courts, how one presents the case, likely in front of a judge without a jury in Latin America, is paramount for success. Skill number 4, translation technique. We've already talked about language. Now, translation. Embedding legal meaning into every filing, treating translation as advocacy, building on language proficiency is translation power as well. And in the case of law, which we've already focused on, most Latin American jurisdictions follow civil law systems rooted in Roman law, transmitted through Spanish and Portuguese legal traditions. So, legal translators must not only contend with language issues, but a different legal system, other than English common law, which is found in the U.S. This is where legal skills are surely tested. Skill number 5, cultural fluency. Aligning global teams and strengthening negotiations through awareness of local norms is important. In-country experience makes a world of difference for a paralegal, helping to manage a client's success in the region. I lived in 2 Spanish-speaking countries, Colombia and Argentina, and I also lived a time in Sao Paulo, Brazil, the humongous business capital of Latin America. Skill number 6, compliance tracking. That is the monitoring decrees and deadlines to keep obligations visible and avoid penalties. Naturally, Compliance tracking would fall under calendaring, as a skill paralegals are familiar with. Tracking deadlines and meeting them makes the job of a paralegal and supervising attorney that much easier. Skill number 7, technology competence. Leveraging case management tools, secure workflows, and AI proficiency for efficiency and enforceability, very important for a paralegal. Well, this of course is a given. Technology rules the world, and the business of law is no different. From word processing to Clio and Adobe and AI, the paralegal needs to be tech savvy to ease the challenge of keeping up with so much of the daily information exchanged in the office. And finally, probably a skill most probably do not think about, and that's an advantage I have, and that skill number 8, geopolitical discernment. Anticipating how economic shocks and political transitions reshape arbitration, IP, and compliance. Latin America is characterized by shifting sands of political and economic social affairs, and that's where marrying my master's in international affairs with legal skills comes in handy. For paralegals in the intellectual property space, geopolitical awareness is not a luxury, but a necessity to know what is happening in the country where the client has interests. Well, there you go. Those are the 8 skills that we're talking about today in our episode. Globalization multiplies risk at every turn. Contracts get diluted in translations, statutes shift overnight, and arbitration bundles collapse under scrutiny. International paralegals transform those risks into resilience, anchoring enforceability, credibility, and advocacy that withstand tribunal and client review. Latin American firms need risk management collaborators. International paralegals who are versed in the language of the region, tech savvy, and geopolitical aware help clients protect brands, ensure contracts, and compliance across borders. Well, that's our show for today. Stay tuned for the next episode in which we look at Latin America's trademark tightrope. Before we wrap up today, remember you can subscribe to the print version of Paralegal's Memo on LinkedIn at bit.ly/paralegal101. It's the best way to stay ahead of insights that help law firms reduce exposure, manage risk, and strengthen client confidence, especially when protecting interests in Latin America. Thanks for being a part of this ongoing journey with me at the crossroads of IP, arbitration, and multilingual legal work. Your presence here matters. A quick reminder, this podcast is strictly informational and should not be interpreted as legal advice in any way. Always consult a qualified attorney for any legal questions. Thanks again for being with me. I'm Winfield Trivette II, a bilingual paralegal and translator working from Spanish and Portuguese into English. And I'll see you in the next episode.